Hi everyone, this is Christina.
And this is MJ.
And Carmen.
And this is another episode of Espooky Tales, a podcast for all things spooky and true crime. That's right, we do both now, most of the time. Today is, my part's depressing. MJ's is not that depressing, so that's cool. And Carmen's going to read the listener's story. And before you read the listener's story, I can't talk again. Sorry. It's that time of day. Don't work anymore. Anyway, if you have a listener story that you want to send into the podcast, you can email espookytales@gmail.com. You can DM us on any of the socials. You can submit it on Discord. More people are hopping on and sharing their stories on Discord, and I love it. Someone else just sent another one through there. There's a channel literally called Submit a Story. And what else? Oh, call the Spooky Hotline. That's another option. The number's in the show notes. And yeah, those are ways you can send us your story. Once, I guess I should tell everyone the topic, just so that everyone knows. I'm just going to be sharing a couple legends from like touristy haunted legends, I guess. And then something about the Vatican made a report.
Vatican and Harvard reports.
Yes, some paranormal news, I guess. Yes. And then I'll be talking about the Pulse Nightclub shooting. So just a warning about that if anyone wants to skip that part. Okay, are we good? Are we ready for the listener's story?
Yes, ready.
All right, this is from Vanessa, who uses they, them pronouns.
Thanks for normalizing pronouns. We love it.
Yes. So Vanessa says, hi, Spookies. Oh, also, content warning for unspecified child abuse and shitty parents who don't believe victims. So Vanessa says, hi, Spookies. Adore you guys and the pod. Thank you for highlighting our people's stories and for speaking up about social justice issues. Nobody's doing it like y'all, and I'm excited to tune every week. Thank you, Vanessa.
Yes, thank you.
One rainy Friday evening in Seattle, I was sitting on my couch with a hot cup of tea. The lights were dimmed, curtains drawn, and I had the sliding glass door cracked so I could listen to the soft patter of the rain. Sounds relaxing, but wait for this. Suddenly, I heard a woman sobbing right out. Sorry, I couldn't even talk because I was so scared. Okay, let's start over. Suddenly, I heard a woman sobbing right outside the open door. It sounded
right and things for me. Like,
close the door, lock it.
Yeah.
Way to ruin such a relaxing evening. Like,
seriously.
It sounded like she'd walked the length of the door, and when she got to the end, the sobbing suddenly stopped.
Ooh.
I was in shock because a crying woman interrupted my rain ASMR, but I also felt a deep sense of sadness. Not what I would have felt, but okay. It's unlikely a human climbed the fence just to sob outside my back door.
Yeah.
After sitting in shocked silence for a few minutes, I closed and locked the door without looking outside. I have no kids, and if a supernatural woman's crying outside in the rain, that's none of my business.
Sorrows, prayers.
That night, I dreamt I was 16 or 17 years old and trying to convince my mom to leave her abusive boyfriend. In the dream, he was abusing me and I wanted her to leave him so no harm came to my younger siblings. She ended up kicking me out of the house instead. I woke up with that same deep sense of sadness and with a strong urge to talk to my sister who lives in the 209. Shout out.
209.
209. After sharing everything with her, she said she spent the weekend helping out an acquaintance's child with almost the exact same situation I dreamt about.
Oh.
The situation was hard and very emotionally taxing on her. My call gave her an outlet to vent and process her thoughts and emotions. Thanks to the weeping woman, I was able to be there for my big sister, who's an absolute saint and is always there for others. Thank you and stay spooky. Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay. Horrifying beginning.
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Oh my God. I would have just died.
But the ending was so sweet. Wow.
Yeah, that's cute. I guess she did a good thing by, I don't know, somehow letting her know of her sister's situation.
A premonition dream.
Brought on by La Llorona.
Okay, La Llorona. I mean, honestly, it sounds like she does more good things than bad to me.
Okay, yes. Llorona, we see you.
But don't come for me.
No,
I don't have
Llorona.
Your kids. No están aquí.
They're by the river. Wow, but no, seriously, thank you for sending your story. That is, yeah, like we said, it's horrifying in the beginning, but yeah, very sweet in the end.
Yeah, I was so scared, and it just got worse when she said like the crying stopped, like when she got to the door or whatever, the end of the door. Terrifying.
Yeah.
This is why you keep your doors closed, guys.
Honestly,
she wanted to hear the rain.
Especially at night. Like, I understand wanting to hear the rain. That sounds super relaxing. But no,
But no.
It's a no for me, dog.
I think there's a playlist of rain sounds on Spotify. Safer.
Yeah,
It's
there
safer.
is. Whenever I don't have my sound machine for my kids, I just play rain on Spotify.
It's safer, guys. Okay.
Yeah.
Keeps the bugs out too.
That too.
Okay, so I go first or you?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Caribbean hauntings and cryptids. So the first one is from Roatan Bay Islands in Honduras. And so Roatan, Honduras is an island 40 miles north of mainland Honduras. It's frequented by many tourists every year. And even though it's not full of all-inclusive resorts like Cancun or Punta Cana, several big cruise ships like Norwegian Cruise Lines offer several cruises to the island every year. The island is popular with tourists because of its excursions, local animal life, and cuisine. But before I get into the reporting hauntings that are happening on the island, here are some background or fun facts about the island.
Oh, I love fun facts.
Roatan is the largest and most developed of the Bay Islands. By the 17th century, more than 5,000 pirates lived on the island of Roatan, and famous pirates like Blackbeard, Van Horn, and Henry Morgan have visited it. I can never say it like visited it. There we go.
Good job. But wow.
Roatan is home to the second largest coral reef in the world, the Mesoamerican Reef, giving the perfect opportunity for snorkelers and divers to explore an underwater garden. This reef stretches 700 miles, all the way from the Yucatan Peninsula to the Bay Islands. In 1797, the island began to be inhabited by Black Caribs who were initially from St. Vincent, but were then deported by the British. More than 5,000 Black Caribs were deported, but when the deportees landed on Roatan on April 12, 1797, only about 2,500 had survived the trip to the island. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, those numbers went over right over my head. What are they?
Oh, yeah. Carmen needs numbers twice.
Oh, okay. It says more than 5,000 Black Caribs were deported, but when the deportees landed on Roatan Island on April 12th, 1797, only about 2,500 had survived, so about half.
Oh, wow.
Had died. They established a settlement of Punta Gorda and later became known as the Garifuna people. Their descendants live there to this day and still speak the Garifuna language, create the culture's unique music, and perform traditional dances. The island is home to 2 cruise ship ports. Roatan, especially its caves, are said to be haunted by duppies, which is the local word for ghosts and comes from West Indian folklore. According to locals, pirates would hide their treasure in the caves. Local legend said that the pirates would always kill a man over the spot they hid their treasure so the ghost of their victim would guard their treasure.
That's one way to do it.
They went from 0 to 100 real quick. The islanders are also scared of the duppies that even though they believe their buried treasure in the cave, they won't go looking for it because they believe the duppies will punish them if they do. Others believe that after years of guarding the treasure from looters, duppies actually get bored and make themselves visible to the people and then guide them to the treasure.
Oh.
Okay.
So they're hoping.
Locals also believe that nearby island of Santa Elena is haunted by pirates. No one lives on the island, which is quite large and completely covered in palm trees. Some of the locals go there during the day to collect sand and palm fronds, but they all leave before sunset and never attempt to go there at night, since that's reportedly when the duppies come out. Smart.
Very.
Okay, and this next story is Los Bienbienes? Bienbienes?
Oh, I saw this word. I thought it was, something like that. Bienbiens?
Bienbienes? Is it that?
I've never heard that.
Bienbienes. I'm going to go with what you said.
Yeah, something like that.
And it's in Bauruco, Dominican Republic. Los Bienbienes are a Dominican cryptid that live in the mountains of Bauruco, which is a province in the southwestern part of the country. The province is also home to Lake Enriquillo and Nieva mountain range, which help to draw tourists to the area. But be aware that if you visit the area, you might come across a bienbien. According to reports, these strange humanoids were first sighted around the 1700s. Local legend says that they're believed to have once been enslaved Native Americans and Africans who escaped white settlers and hid in the mountains. Eventually, as time went on, the people mutated into Los Bienbiens, which are described as half-human creatures that are about the size of a child and walk backwards. These cryptids also grunt and growl when communication with each other are known to be agile, good climbers, aggressive, and unfriendly. Los bienbiens usually hide in the mountains during the daytime but come out in groups at night to hunt for food. Eating humans isn't out of the question for the bienbiens either. Some are even said to hunt down humans to use them as human sacrifices. It's said that the bienbiens also elude captivity for centuries because their backwards feet make it hard to follow their tracks.
Interesting.
This feels racist.
Mm-hmm.
2, this reminds me of 2 things. La Ciguapa, which is another legend from the Dominican Republic. I feel like we've talked about La Ciguapa.
Yes.
Have we?
Yes.
Okay,
you
I
have.
thought so. Yeah, okay. And I mean, just a reminder, but the Ciguapa, like according to legend, is it's not a human, but it's like human-like. But their feet are backwards. They have very long hair. They're short, but not like tiny like a duende. And they live in the jungles of the Dominican Republic, and they like lure men into the jungle and kill them.
Yes.
But it also reminded me of the duende, which is a duende-like thing from Trinidad and Tobago. So yeah, they're all very similar to me. Duendes and these things, and even ciguapas are very duende-like. So yeah, interesting.
It has that like little people thing to
Trope?
it, like lure trope.
Yeah. El Cipitillo, another one.
And aren't his feet also?
Backwards, I
wrong?
think so.
Yeah. And he's short too. So very interesting. That was it.
That
huh?
was it, yeah.
Oh, you have your
You want me
other
to?
thing.
Okay, you want me to do that? Okay. This is little like paranormal news that I found interesting because I guess it's international news when you think about it. Okay, so Harvard scientists suggest that aliens may be living among us in a study titled The Crypto-Terrestrial Hypothesis, a case for scientific openness to a concealed earthly explanation for unidentified anomalous phenomenon. That is the title.
Wow, that's a long title.
That's a long title. And
Also, the thought of aliens living among us, no thank you.
Very cool. Oh.
Okay.
in this study, we were given 3 hypotheses to explain UAPs. The first hypothesis is that these UAPs come from an ancient human civilization that has branched off and has more advanced tech than we do.
I've heard this one.
And this, in theory, has been popular in the UFO community for, I feel like, decades. I can see this being plausible explanation. I mean, there were many species of human. And like, it's not always Homo sapiens. You had like Neanderthals, Denisovians, just to name a few. And I mean, so far, 21 human species have been identified by scientists. Homo sapiens, aka us, lived among other species of human for a while, which is why it suggests we have uncanny valley. It's human, but not quite. It's probably to help us tell the difference between other hominid species. A lot of people think that Homo sapiens were the smartest of all the human species, but that's not true. So much evidence has come forward about Neanderthals, my bad.
Being dummies, right?
Yeah, they were, but they were actually extremely smart. They had their own language, culture, and they were the first species of human to bury their dead with flowers as a symbol for mourning.
Wow.
They're just like us.
Yeah. And actually, almost every single human on the planet has some Neanderthal DNA.
Interesting. I thought it was like 70% of people.
That's the majority, fool.
You're right.
And the people with the highest, like, I guess, DNA of Neanderthals are the whites, or the Europeans. So Homo floresiensis, aka the real life hobbits, actually fit the height for gray aliens. So
Cute.
Actually, that is cute. Yeah.
they were like 3 feet tall, and they were discovered in Indonesia a few years back. So I can see where this theory has its merit, especially because like technically Neanderthals didn't go extinct. They kind of like mixed with Homo sapiens. So I get it. Yeah. And it's totally plausible too that there was like some other like Homo sapien civilization that was just like, I'm not with this mess with your little wars, and I'm just going to protect my people. And I could totally see that happening. So the second theory is another species, non-human, that had evolved intelligently outside of hominids. That would be like, I saw that one article suggested like a smart reptile that had evolved from the dinosaurs.
Oh, is this where reptilians come from?
Which also reminded me of that, but I can see that.
Reptilians like the QAnon theory?
I guess,
no?
but like I don't think they suggest that they like shapeshift.
I feel like reptilians were a cryptid before QAnon.
Oh, and they just kind of like took it over.
And then QAnon,
Yeah,
and
I think.
I feel like this is also doesn't mean like they actually shapeshift into humans. I just feel like this is like a species of some kind of animal that lived before that became intelligent. And this can go many ways. Like if you think about it, octopuses are really smart, like really, really intelligent. I don't eat them because I feel like they're too sentient. I also don't eat squid because I also feel it's too sentient.
What's calamari?
Squid.
Okay, oops.
I love it too, but I was like, oh, they're just too smart. They're too sentient for me. There's several animals that I could see like maybe in a few million years. And maybe this happened before. So
yeah, so why not super smart?
Or something from back 200 million years ago. God as smart as us, you know. The last theory is time travel, like time traveling humans, which
I've heard this one.
Which is like the one that everybody really thinks it is, which is like, so Harvard is actually like taking all this into consideration, which I think is crazy.
Well, I feel like ever since that one report where the government like acknowledged UAPs, I think everywhere has gotten a little more accepting of the idea of all of this.
What the scientist said is like the Tic Tac UFO and stuff. None of it makes sense. Like it's so outlandish, but it's real that why can't we have outlandish theories and then disprove one by one until we get to the correct one? These three theories are not as outlandish as you really think they are, which is crazy in itself because it took like decades and people being called crazy. And here's Harvard scientists saying like, hey, maybe.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are owed an apology, I think.
For being called crazy.
And yeah. Okay, so this next paranormal report, the Vatican released new guidelines regarding the supernatural phenomena, miracles, apparitions, etc. So basically new guidelines regarding how the Vatican will qualify something as supernatural. The talk about aliens was asked to the Vatican, and they basically said that it isn't their field of operation and they don't know anything regarding that. And pretty much if a Catholic member of the faith requires help, then they will do what they can, but they are not involved in it.
Okay, so basically they were like, we don't know her.
So they said they don't know much about it, but if someone of the Catholic faith asks they're going to help a little bit and investigate.
Do what they can. Yeah.
But they're not ruling out the possibilities of aliens either. However, the guidelines are about miracles and the beatification of saints. Basically, to dumb it down a bit, science has to rule out everything, and once you rule out everything, and there's still no explanation, then you have a miracle and or something paranormal. And due to today's technology, anyone with a phone can create a miracle. So the criteria in order for something to be deemed unexplained has become more difficult. Science basically cannot explain it, and it has to be an anomaly, medical or otherwise. But the Vatican's guidelines are mostly for apparitions of Mary and how they will rule them out. However, interestingly enough, the Vatican does have a term for UFOs/UAPs. They call them res inexplicate volantes, which is Latin for unexplained flying things.
That sounds cool.
I like the name. Yeah,
I like it. Yeah, me too.
And what does UAP have to do with Marian apparitions? Many of the sightings of Mary have been linked to UAP activity. For instance, the apparition of the Lady of Fatima.
I'm just shocked.
Yeah. So, for instance, the apparition of the Lady of Fatima in Portugal was a UAP. It was an unidentified aerial phenomenon, which the Catholic Church and other scientists who were studying it still cannot be like, it was this, it was that. It was actual UAP. And these guidelines are great for a number of reasons. One, the Vatican will now be the only deciding body when it comes to apparitions. And while many will be like, what, why, grr, the Vatican, which I understand, this helps prevent people from being taken advantage of. Impoverished people in the Catholic community may spend what little money they have in hopes of a miracle by going to one of these places when there is an alleged apparition.
Yeah.
They don't want people in desperate situations to be taken advantage of. Opinions of the Catholic Church aside, this is a good step to take to minimize the exploitation of impoverished Catholic communities. It is an important thing to do. How many of us in the Latin American community have heard of or know of people being taken advantage of when it comes to curanderos and other things? When people are desperate and looking for a miracle for their ailments, it is a problem, and it is an important step to take.
True.
This precaution that they are taking. Actually, for grandparents who are like, see something on the internet and then they're like, oh, did you see, Jesus was here?
Yeah.
And it's like, no,
No, this is AI.
Yeah. And that is all.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Well, on that note, we're going to take an ad break and then we'll come back for my part, which is the depressing part. So, okay, we're back. Okay. So, yes, I am talking about the Pulse Nightclub shooting, just trigger warning for like mass murder. And yeah, I think that covers it. Okay. So, to go a little bit into what happened that day, and then we'll go into more details. But on June 12, 2016, a gunman opened fire at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida. 49 people were killed and 53 were wounded. And over 90% of those who were killed and wounded, were Latino, Latinx. And it's Pride Month. And this horrific crime truly affected the Latina community of Florida. And all over the US, really. Mm-hmm. And I feel like only the Latina organizations were the ones really talking about how this was the Latina community that was mostly affected.
Yes.
So
to speak a little bit as someone that puts the B in LGBTQ and has been part of the community, there's a lot of racist white LGBTQ people. A lot.
Too many, really. And then they use their identity to justify
it's called pink washing. Yeah. It's an issue. How are you going to be marginalized, part of a marginalized community, and continue to marginalize others? But
because at the end of the day, they're still white.
Yeah, that's true.
And they'll align with white supremacy.
So it's a huge issue. It's a huge issue.
Yeah, and these things are all tied, as we say many times here on Espooky Tales. And so that's why I wanted to talk about it today, because it was a crime that affected the Latina community, the LGBTQ plus Latina community. And I've been wanting to cover it for a while. And now that we're doing true crime in every episode, I was like, this is the perfect time. It's Pride Month. So yeah. So to get into the club first, Pulse was founded in 2004 by Barbara Poma and Ron Legler. Barbara named the club Pulse after her brother John, who had died from AIDS in 1991.
Aww.
She said it's named for John's pulse to live on.
Aww.
Which
so
I
cute.
was like, why am I crying right now when I was reading it? Before John became sick, he was the life of the party, and he introduced Barbara to the underground nightlife where they grew up in Fort Lauderdale. And so they were out partying together. He was, showing her the scene, and she didn't know anything about it, but she felt so welcomed, even though she wasn't part of, she wasn't any type of
part
LGBTQ
of the alphabet
herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you. But she just felt so welcomed. And loved.
There's something about gay clubs. There is nothing else like it out there. I love them.
They really are inclusive and protective of femininity, and which I can appreciate, because it's one of the few places where femininity is accepted and loved.
And celebrated.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it. And you're least likely to be grown up there also.
Mm-hmm. Though it is a problem. I heard it is a problem that a lot of straight women bring their straight partners.
Yeah, leave them at home. Nobody wants them there. Also, I feel like if you're just with your straight friends, you shouldn't go there. But if you're with your gay friends, you can't go there.
Mm-hmm. It's a good rule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you hear about bachelorette parties and they're not they're just straight and they go there, and I'm like, I don't know if that's right.
Yeah.
I feel like
I
it's not
understand though, the safety, the wanting the safety thing, because
I get that too.
But also be aware,
and don't be disrespectful. A lot of times,
what is called self-aware. Be self-aware, because a lot of people are not, and they go into places where there are guests and they don't behave like guests.
Yeah, behave like a guest. Okay, that's the rule. No es tu casa, so.
And I don't know if you're going to get into it, but I know for a lot of LGBTQ people, when they go to gay clubs and stuff, it's it's more than just going out. If I were to go to the club and dance, you know what I mean? Because it's one of the first places that probably is welcoming and celebrating and accepting of who they are. So it's it's so much more communal. And
yes, it's funny you say that, because Barbara, even on the website of Pulse, she said it's more than a club. Was on there, and it is, and that's what she felt like when she was partying with her brother. And so when he died in 1991 after battling HIV, which turned into AIDS for years, that's when she opened Pulse to create a place what he first introduced her to. She wanted to make that for everyone. And so it was a gay bar, a gay club, but it was so much more than that. It was a safe place for the LGBTQ plus community. And it served also as a place for the community to learn about HIV prevention, breast cancer awareness, and immigrant rights.
Wow.
They did all of that too. And they partnered with a lot of educational and advocacy groups like Come Out with Pride and Equality Florida. So really more than just a club in like
literal.
Literal in all senses. Yeah. And so the club, again, more than a club, it was very, very popular. It was in a list of Orlando in like the top 10 clubs. And so on June 11th, 2016, it was the club's weekly Latin night, and it was packed. Club goers were having a good time, dancing, drinking. Drag queen Kenya Michaels, a RuPaul Drag Race contestant, had just finished performing, and it was amazing. And then last call was announced around 2 a.m. And so now it was June 12th. There were about 320 people in the club when last call was announced. And then out of nowhere, gunshots were fired near the entrance. Adam Gruler, who was an off-duty officer working that night as a security guard, he was armed, and so he pulled out his gun and he tried to shoot back at the gunman. And their gun battle was brief because the gunman had a semi-automatic rifle and a semi-automatic pistol. And so Adam Gruler, he had to retreat because he was like, my weapon, I can't, like, I don't have enough firepower to like try and get him. So he, retreated and hid somewhere, and he called for backup. And because he was an officer, I think, and he was the one that called for backup, aside from like maybe phone calls that club goers were making, the police arrived very quickly, 2:04. So in 4 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that quick.
Yeah.
That is unheard of because they're take for fucking ever.
Yeah. So it was an additional unit. So I think a pair of officers together in their car. But still, like, that was very fast. So as he retreats, the gunman continues firing, hitting at least a dozen club goers like within seconds. Panic obviously ensued. People are running away, and he's just killing them as they're trying to run away. So the additional officers arrived at 2:04. When they got inside, Adam told them the gunman was on the patio, and then the officers joined him where they were trying to fight at the gunman together in hopes of stopping him. And the gunman was firing back at the officers, but then he ran into one of the bathrooms, which then created a hostage situation because a ton of people ran into the bathroom to try and hide when they first heard gunshots. So at 2:09, there was a warning that appeared on the club's Facebook page that said, "Everyone get out of Pulse and keep running."
Oh my God, that's so horrible.
Yeah. Some people were able to do so, and not everyone could. Like, people were trapped. Angel Colon, he had been at the club with his friends when they heard the gunshots, and they ran, but Angel was shot 3 times when they were running away, and he fell, and then he was trampled because there was so many people there. So he was stuck on the floor, and he saw as the gunman was just shooting the people around him, but he played dead and he survived.
Oh my God.
It's just like, it's so horrifying.
Yeah.
Ray Rivera, he was the DJ that night. He took cover behind his booth and then hit 2 other people with him, and the 3 were able to escape together. And there was a lot of people that had been wounded but were still alive, playing dead on the dance floor, which worked for some people, and some people it didn't. SWAT arrived around 2:18 a.m. So again, that's pretty fast because everything started at 2 a.m. The gunman was still in the bathroom, and so someone else that was at the club, Patience Carter, she was there with her friends. She was on vacation with them. They had arrived to Pulse at midnight, and before everything happened, she described the night as magical, and like she felt, I don't know, alive, welcomed, loved for the first time, like at any place she had been before. So they were having like the night of their life before everything went down. When they heard gunshots, they were confused because like it's dark, there's very loud music. At first they thought it was fireworks, but then they saw other people running, so they ran outside. And when her and her friends got outside, they did a head count to make sure everyone was there, but one friend was missing.
Oh my God. I can't imagine the fear that they must have felt, and I don't know, maybe the guilt.
They went back inside.
Oh my God.
To find their friend.
Oh my God.
And when I read that, I cried because, like, not to get a little ahead, but Patience was the only one who survived out of her friends.
Oh, I'm gonna cry right now.
I know. It's horrible. So the group, you know, they ran back inside to find their friend. But at this point, they saw the gunmen, like, you know, in their direction, and they ran into the bathroom to hide because they saw other people running into the bathroom.
So they became part of the hostage situation. Oh my God.
When they were running into the bathroom, another guy was following them behind them. He pushed them inside, closed the door to try and stop the guy from going into the bathroom.
Oh my God.
But the gunman just killed him and went inside the bathroom. But like, it was like, there's so many people that die trying to save other people.
I mean, so much bravery here. I mean, it's so hard to hear, but I mean, I feel like that's what needs to be highlighted, like the people who were there.
Yeah.
Because that's like really unheard of. Like you rarely see in American culture where it's like it's a very me culture, but you have these minority cultures and they're really like 10 toes down for each other.
Yeah. And that's the thing when there's like crisis situations like this, I don't think it matters where you are or what's happening. There's always going to be people like the guy who pushed them into the bathroom and stood at the doorway. Always. The gunman, you know, entered the bathroom anyway. And as soon as he entered, he opened fire. At some point he stopped, you know, after leaving like a trail of people. And so when he stopped, the phones were going off like crazy because the people that were still alive in there were messaging their loved ones. He left the bathroom for a second, but then immediately went back in. And this time he pulled out his phone and called 911. And he told the operator, like, you know, because they asked like, what's your name? That's one of the first things they ask you when you call 911. And he never said it. He just said, in the name of God the Merciful, in Arabic. Then he said, praise be to God. And then he said, you know, and the operator repeatedly is like, okay, what's your name? Like, what's your name? And he just never said it. And so then when she asked like the third time, he said that he was the one in Orlando and he did the shooting. And, you know, the operator keeps trying to get his name and the gunman keeps talking about how he's acting on the behalf of the Islamic State. He hangs up suddenly and then he calls the local news and then tells the local news that he did this on the behalf of ISIS. But the thing is, he's naming all these different groups that don't like work together ever. He's
not actually a part of these groups.
No, he's not. Which is important to like say. This was a lone person doing this. He was really not a representative of anyone, you know. So he tells them he did this on the behalf of ISIS. At another point, he says he does this on the behalf of Hezbollah, like all these Al-Qaeda, like all these different groups. He also posts this on Facebook. He tells the news he's the fourth shooter and that there's bombs inside. He also texted his wife around 4 a.m. and she's like, where are you? 'Cause she had no idea this was happening. And then he asks, have you seen the news? And she said no. And the last thing he replied to her is, I love you. And that was it. So, you know, like at this point, it's been hours since 2 a.m. and people are still stuck in the bathroom with him. They're having to hear him say these things.
Oh my God.
Hiding underneath like other bodies.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. There's a phone that keeps going off inside the bathroom and the gunman is getting angrier and angrier about the phone. And like he keeps yelling for the phone to stop, for whoever has the phone, like to shut it off. But like the phone probably belonged to someone who was not alive anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And couldn't shut it off. And so Patience, who was in one of the stalls, threw her phone and said it was hers, which it wasn't, but this calmed him down. And this probably saved everyone else that was in there.
Wow. And just, oh my God, I can't get over like the bravery because she didn't know how he was going to react. Like what if that set him off and caused him to shoot her, you know?
Yeah.
So brave.
Yeah. And she's inside one of the stalls, so she just throws it over the stall or under. I'm not sure, but like either one. So at some point, police are able to pull off an AC that was attached to a window in one of the dressing rooms. Some people are able to escape through there. This was around 4:20 a.m.
Oh my God.
Then, you know, everyone can hear police, you know, through like outside yelling for people to move away from the walls. But some people couldn't because it would reveal that they're alive, putting them at risk for being killed. So they, you know, set off these explosions to try and get inside. But the explosion is too small. They don't fit. And also the explosion caused a pipe to burst in the bathroom, which is now quickly filling with water.
Oh my God.
I hope not sewer water. Like
probably, but also like it's filling up quick, also putting the people that are like on the floor at risk
they're like
of drowning.
underneath bodies. Yeah. And they don't want to move because they've been faking that they're dead, right?
Yeah. Patience was underneath a dead person.
Oh my God.
When this happened. And so now she's worried about drowning. So now the gunman probably trying to like get away from police, or like thinking police aren't going to shoot me if I'm like near more people. He kicks down one of the bathroom stalls and goes inside. And this is where Patience is.
Oh my God.
And then he starts firing at people one by one inside the stall.
Oh my God.
Including the person that Patience was hiding under, but she was okay. The police finally were able to breach the building and they fired at the gunman. There was about 150 gunshots fired and 8 hit him, killing him. And this was around 5:50 a.m. From what I can tell, these gunshots only killed him. No other people, because that's a lot of
that's a lot of rounds. Yeah.
So this was around 5:50 a.m. Once he was hit, the SWAT team rushed into the bathroom and they asked the people in there if there was anyone else, because they thought that there was more people attacking, because he said he was the 4th one when he was talking to the news. But they all yelled out like desperately, like, no, he was the only one. And so then SWAT started carrying out the survivors. And the gunman, he was identified on the news like nationally around 10:15 a.m. of that day. And in the end, 39 people died at the club, and then another 10 either in the hospital or on the way to the hospital. And up to this day, this was the deadliest mass shooting attack in the United States.
It's just so sad.
And it's also sad that you have to say to this day, up to that day, because after this, the Las Vegas Strip shooting happened, which was even more people. So it's just it's depressing.
Yeah.
And just to name the victims here, so I did find, and thanks, because I listened to like 3 or 4 episodes to like just see what else was out there that I missed on like the different news articles and sources that I had. And the Generation Y podcast had an episode where they had information on the victims, just like a little bit of something that families and friends said. So that's where I got this information from, because I couldn't find any of that online.
Oh, I'm gonna check that episode out. I used to listen to them and then I stopped for whatever reason. But sometimes they're very detailed. Well, not sometimes, they're very detailed, but sometimes their voices made me tired. That's why I stopped listening.
They do have like very soothing voices.
Yeah, too soothing. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, but their episode on this is where I got the following information about the victims. So Stanley Almodovar the third, he was 23.
So young.
Yeah, so young. Friends and family said about him, he made people feel welcome and loved. A friend of his said that he made them feel like it was okay to be who they were, because they had just come out and they were like new to everything, and with him they could be themselves. Amanda Alvear was 25. She was there with her friend Mercedes, who also passed away. She was the best tia to her little nibblings and had just gone shopping with them that weekend. She wanted to be a nurse. Oscar Aracena Montero was 26. He was there with his partner Simon. They had just returned from a trip together, and they had just bought a home together.
Aww.
Rodolfo Ayala was 33. He was an employee at a blood donation center, and he just wanted to help people and make a difference. And he felt like every day he made a difference helping people get blood. Alejandro Barrios Martinez was 21. He was a Cuban immigrant, and his family misses him dearly. Martin Benitez Torres was 33. He was a university student on vacation visiting family when this happened. Antonio Brown was 30. He was an army captain in the reserves, and everyone about him said he was always smiling, always helping people. Daryl Burtz II was 29, and his friends and family said he always had a smile on his face. Jonathan Camuy Vega was 24. He worked for Telemundo, and he was a member of the National Association of Hispanic Journalists. Angel Candelario Padro was 28. He was a Zumba instructor and from Puerto Rico, and his classes were probably like really good.
I'm sure.
Yeah, some Zumba instructors like
get
the
down.
best dancers. I feel so dumb trying to like follow it. I'm like, damn, I wish I could dance like that. Simón Carrillo Fernandez was 31. I couldn't find any more information on him. Juan Chavez Martinez was 25. He was the youngest of six children, and his siblings described him as the best brother ever. Luis Conde was 39. He was there with his partner, and they died together, and they were both described as extraordinary humans. Corey Cornell was 21. He wanted to be a firefighter. That was his dream. And he was there with his girlfriend who survived the attack. Tevin Crosby was 25, and friends said about him that he had the best laugh and he spread joy wherever he went. Frankie de Jesus Velasquez was 50, and he was a professional dancer and also worked at Forever 21. Dianca Drayton, who went by Didi, was 32, and she was a bartender at Pulse, and she was just turning her life around after like a bunch of hardships. She had just started hanging out with friends and family more often. She started going to church. People could see like she was just feeling better and like turning her life around. Mercedes Flores was 26, from Queens, New York, on vacation in Florida. She was studying literature at the community college. Peter Gonzalez Cruz was 22, and he went by Ami. That was his nickname. And friends and family said that he made a difference everywhere he went. Juan Guerrero was 22, and he was attending university. He had just come out and he was so scared to do it, but his family was so accepting of him. Paul T. Henry was 41. He is survived by his 2 kids, and he loved to dance. Frank Hernandez, who went by Frankie, was there with his partner, and they both passed away. Miguel Honorato was 30, and he left behind 3 kids. He was at the club with his brother and friend, and he was the only one that didn't make it that night. Javier Jorge Reyes was 40. He went by Javi. He was from Puerto Rico, and he was described as always positive and outgoing and just the loveliest friend to have. Jason Josephat was 19, and he was just figuring out his life. Like so young.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He had just decided he wanted to get a degree in computer science, and he was, finding all sorts of new hobbies to get into, like photography. Eddie Justice was 30. And his mom, Mina, describes him as loving all people. He loved to make people laugh. She moved after losing her son, but she returns every anniversary of the shooting to connect with other families and share in their grief. Anthony Laureano Disla was 25. And he was said to be an amazing drag performer. He was the life of the party, and he was attending college at the time. I couldn't find much about Christopher Leonin. I don't know how to say his last name, sorry. But he was 32. Brenda Marquez McCool was 49, and she was the mother of 11.
Wow.
And a grandmother of 6. And she was there with her 21-year-old son who survived. And she was a cancer survivor as well, and a fierce LGBT ally after, a few of her children had come out. She was always supporting. And I mean, just the fact she was there with her son, living with her son, that's just, I don't know. Jean Mendez Perez was 35, born in Puerto Rico. Akira Monet Murray was 18. She was one of Patience's friends. She was, on vacation as well. She loved basketball, and she was described as a natural leader. Kimberly Morris was 37. She was a bouncer at Pulse. She loved basketball and had just moved from Hawaii to Florida to try and, make money to help her family back home. Jean Nieves Rodriguez was 27. He was from Puerto Rico, a general manager at a check cashing service, and friends describe him as a giant teddy bear. Luis Ocasio Capo was 20. He was an amazing dancer and always willing to help anyone in need. Geraldo Ortiz Jimenez was 25. He was in law school. He was a proud Dominican and an amazing dancer. Eric Ivan Ortiz Rivera was 36. He was the one all of his family went to for advice, and he happily obliged. He was also super creative and was about to become an interior designer. Joel Rayon Paniagua was 32, and he was described as always humble, cheerful, and also loved to dance. Enrique Rios Jr. was 25. He was on vacation from Brooklyn, where he attended university. He was described as super funny and a great person. And then Juan Rivera Velasquez was 37. I couldn't find information on him, unfortunately. Yilmari Rodriguez Solivan was 24. She survived by her 2 sons and her husband. She was said to light up the room and had the best smile and a laugh that was like so infectious. When you like heard her laughing, you also had to laugh with her, which those are like the best laughs.
The best laughs, yeah.
Christopher Sanfeliz was 24. He was from Tampa, but the family had immigrated from Cuba. His older brother wrote that he was the most important person in his family, the light of the family, and the strongest person he ever knew. Javier Emanuel Serrano Rosado was 35. He was a professional dancer and he performed for Disney live.
Wow.
And he inspired others to come out of their shell, and he was always happy. He survived by a young son. Gilberto Ramon Silva Menendez was 25. He worked at a grocery store and was working on a degree in healthcare management. He had also moved from Puerto Rico. Edward Sotomayor Jr. was 34. He was a branch manager for Allen Chuck Travel, and he was described as kind, loving, and energetic. Shane Tomlinson was 33. He was a lead singer in a cover band. He had been singing at another club before heading to Pulse that night. Leroy Valentin Fernandez was 25, and he was a dancer, a fashionista. He, a friend of his said that he loved to sing Adele until he got tired of it, and that life is quieter without him now. Luis Vielma was 22. And friends describe him as the best person that they had like the pleasure of knowing. Luis Daniel Wilson Leon was 37. He grew up in Puerto Rico. He was at Pulse with his partner Jean Mendez Perez. They were together for 10 years. And then Gerald Wright, he was 31. He went by Jerry. He was described as quiet and hardworking, but always had a smile on his face, and he worked at Disney. And yeah, those are all the victims that passed away.
So sad.
Just terrible. Just people out for the night, just living their lives.
And then I didn't write too much about him because I wanted to focus on what happened and the victims.
Yeah.
But the gunman was identified to be 29-year-old Omar Mateen, a U.S. citizen born in Queens. Also, like, important to say, because a lot of people came out and were like, this is why immigrants shouldn't be in the country, you know.
Which is crazy because a lot of the immigrants were the ones that died.
Like, yeah, exactly.
That were targeted.
Yes. And so, yeah, a U.S. born citizen did this. He was born in Queens, New York, to Afghan parents. You know, although he was saying all this like nonsense about Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hezbollah, like the fact that he was Muslim and of Afghan descent, that had something to do with him doing this. It's the terrible person that he was. So the FBI had him on like a watch list as of 2013.
Really? I don't remember if I heard that or not.
Yeah, so he worked at a security firm and he told coworkers that he had ties to Al-Qaeda and Hezbollah. Mind you, these organizations are not working together.
A lot of the organizations also have beef with each other.
Yes, also important to note. So it was a 10-month investigation that ended up with no charges. He was questioned in 2014 again, though, after an associate of his became a suicide bomber in Syria. So he, I guess, maybe knew one person. So he also later told someone else that he had been watching jihadist videos by Anwar al-Awlaki, and that person told the authorities. So this was another investigation, but again, nothing came of this investigation. It was closed. And he had a Florida firearms license since 2007. Even at the time of the shooting, this license was active.
I would think that if you're on a watch list or something, like, you shouldn't have that. I don't know.
Yeah, you would think. And since he had been investigated twice already.
But how many KKK members are in the watch list? And you know they ain't going to do that.
Yeah, like, they should all not have.
No, I know, but like, you know, like they're not going to do that because they're like, we're not going to put white people. I mean, even if white people are on the watch list, we're not going to take away their gun rights.
Yeah.
Go to have my guns.
We just said the same thing.
Twins.
So his name had also appeared on this list, the FBI's terrorist screening database. This is the terrorist watch list. His name was removed after both of those investigations. So he would have legally been allowed to have firearms. So he bought the guns that he used for this shooting on June 4th. And so, you know, in the days after the attack happened, there was people, I guess, all sorts of rumors coming out. People that said that he had been on gay dating websites and apps. Someone did an interview with Univision who went by an anonymous name, who said that he saw the guy, I already forgot his name, but fuck him. He saw the guy at Pulse a few times before the shooting.
I remember hearing things like that, but nothing was true, right?
None could be proven. None of it could be proven. The FBI, you know, did a forensic examination of the guy's phone, computer, online account records, and they couldn't find any of this. Just like they couldn't find any evidence of him being part of ISIS, like he kept claiming to any of it. And so, I mean, just more on the guy, like he had a you know, like most of these people, a troubling childhood. Like he was described during his time in school that he couldn't sit still. He was always in touching people, not leaving people alone. And he had from a very young age these very sexist beliefs. He was very rude to his the girls in the class and the women teachers. And then when teachers brought it up to his parents, the father had the same views.
I was going to say, probably was where he got it from.
Yeah, and he was also disrespectful to the teachers. So, you know, he was always acting out. And like, you know, maybe he had some issues that could have been addressed and they weren't. And so his behavior escalated. Because I think like at age 14, he was suspended or expelled from school for his behavior. So he was a violent person, a violent, like sexist person. And, you know, like his ethnicity, his race, him maybe possibly being like a closeted gay, like none of that is the cause, like, or the reason, you know, for what he did. Like he was just like a terrible person who went out and did this. There was even a trial against his wife after this.
For what?
See, this thing that pisses me off. The man does something and the wife gets in trouble.
Yeah, because they were looking for someone to blame, honestly.
So an actual trial, like criminal trial?
Yeah,
or
a criminal trial against her.
What were the charges?
I don't remember the actual name of the charge that was like, you know,
and then
given
the fact
to her.
that he was like that, she could have been abused. And then like they're already more abused.
Basically,
mass shooters have extremely high rates of domestic violence.
Exactly.
So. Yeah, and look at the shit he was doing in school where he was mistreating the girls and the teachers. So the trial against his wife was like basically blaming her that she knew what was going to happen, but the trial concluded. Yeah, it concluded she was not guilty.
Of course.
Yeah, and she really didn't know. So yeah, and that's really all I wrote about him. And one more thing, you know, the FBI, after their investigation, you know, they determined that he was like a lone wolf, like someone acting alone. Not, you know, targeting. It was also kind of like concluded that he wasn't even really targeting the club itself. He was just looking for the busiest nightclub.
Wow.
Yeah. So because there was Google searches from his phone and he searched 2 or 3 other places in the area. And the last search he did was Pulse Nightclub. So there's speculation he didn't even know it was a gay club, but there's also speculation that he did know it was a gay club, and that he had like a vendetta against gays. So like nothing was proven. And at the end of the day, like, you know, no one knows the motive.
So nothing adds up in this. I mean, none of his I guess you can't find evidence for, like, as you said, for his motives. That's weird.
I think for me, the only thing that adds up, which is extremely common in mass shooters, but often ignored by media and also by the criminal courts, is that a lot of these men are sexist and they hate women, and that is a lot of times a root issue for them. And you know, the violence that the extreme mass violence they want to perpetrate
against women.
Yeah,
or
and a lot of
anything
times,
feminine.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. And I think we know that a lot of homophobia is tied to, not to diminish homophobia or minimize homophobia as not its own thing, but a lot of times it's tied to the hatred of women also.
Yeah, and that's like all I wrote about him, because I did not want the attention on him. Some other podcasts to go into more detail about him and his life and whatever.
But you know, I like not giving attention and sometimes not even names for these people, because that's what they want too. On top of wanting to enact extreme violence on women, because they hate women. They want the attention and the notoriety
fame,
and fame.
yes.
You know, otherwise, I mean, I don't know about him, but like some of them write manifestos, they make videos, like, you know, so.
Yeah. Oh, and like when he would go apply into jobs, he would put in basically what would be a manifesto or seen as a manifesto, but basically just like horrible sexist views. So yeah, the nightclub sadly did not reopen, though there are like I think it was like a week after the shooting happened, there was another Latin night. That's what it was. Another Latin night, but like outside. It was like in the street because it was warm. It was a summer. So it was kind of done like in memory of everyone that had passed away. And there's still like an annual anniversary ceremony basically. And I don't know if it's up yet, but they're working on making it like a memorial site. So the club did close. And that's being turned into a memorial site for the victims. But one thing that happened, because, you know, the victims were majority Latino, Latina, some people were calling out, like, why isn't there bilingual help for the families? Why isn't there, like, there needs to be more support in Spanish? And that is important because, you know, like we've been saying, the majority of these victims and survivors, a lot of them were Latino, Latina. So yeah, that was a tough episode. We've reached the end of my notes. And then before we go, any spooky recommendations?
Nope.
MJ?
I don't have a spooky recommendation, but I am covering Aguascalientes, I think, for next episode, maybe.
Oh, okay.
And then any listener stories from there, if anybody has any, would be nice.
Yes, send us your Aguascalientes stories if you have them. I guess we should announce, but MJ wants to do what, like stories from every state?
From every state, and then go from one country to the next. Because is it states and then provinces? I don't know. I guess it depending on the country. It has either states or provinces.
And that's gonna be.
I don't know the difference between the two.
Yeah,
whatever.
Me either.
Me neither. And then you add in like departments.
Oh yeah,
and it's over.
Mean.
It's over for me. Yeah. Yeah. No, I also don't have any spooky recommendations. God, what have you? I don't think I've even been listening to anything lately.
I've just been listening to Anita. Like her album dropped, and I have not been able to stop listening to it. So.
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know who Anita is?
Stop it.
No. She's don't make the face at me.
The Brazilian singer Anita.
You have to know who Anita is.
She made a song with Peso Pluma. Vallaqueo.
Pluma is.
Wow.
I want to go to one of her concerts, but
look, I don't know a lot of music. Okay, I'm like stuck in my old millennial ways, and I just listen to the same songs over and over.
She's Brazilian. She makes Brazilian.
Okay, no, she looks familiar, but I honestly don't think I've listened to any of her songs. Should I? I should. I will.
I will. You should. They're
I just
so good.
embarrass myself.
But no, she had a lot of people come in and attack her because she did. I can't remember. Like she's from part of a different religion.
I remember seeing that.
And then people were coming at her because she's practicing.
Oh, I do know who she is because of that.
I was like, did MJ send that to the group?
I think Don did.
Oh, okay. I was like, somebody sent it to us.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's her.
Yes.
And I've been listening to her music since her album came out. It's so good.
Well, you know what? I'm going to check that out. Okay. And then I also don't have any spooky recommendations. I've been doing nothing but catching up on all the work that I am very behind on. I'm finally like catching up. And then in my little free time, I've been watching Degrassi still. And I'm not going to go and talk about Degrassi more. There's a lot of seasons though, so...
I still have to watch it.
Oh my god!
I almost started watching it, but I had to make an account on Tubi to actually for it to be able to start off where I left off. And I haven't done that yet. So
you have my HBO information. It's all on HBO.
I thought you said it was on Tubi.
No, the last part is on Tubi. It's also all of it is on Tubi, but you can watch it ad free because you have my HBO login.
If you have AT&T internet, you get free HBO. I don't know if.
Oh well, I don't. So. That sucks for me. If anyone else does, take advantage of that. Okay, we have reached the end of the episode. Don't forget to, if you're in the Denver area, check out the True Crime and Paranormal Podcast Festival on July 12th to July 14th. It's coming up. So that's very exciting. Carmen and I will be there. We're going to have stickers. I'm going to have my phone. We're gonna record, if anyone wants to record like their scary stories on TikTok. That would be fun. What else? If you just want to record a scary story with us for the podcast without, showing your face, that's fine too. I'm gonna have some equipment too. Maybe Carmen will go to a haunted place and do another vlog. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
I told Aiden from Susto that we needed to go to a haunted place together when we're there, and he was like, "Oh yeah." So I'm gonna remind him again, and maybe we can get Lainey to come too. It's gonna be great. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun. So make sure you go if you're in the area. You can use code Espooky15 to get 15% off, or Paranormal 15. Either one works. And yeah, stay spooky.
Close the sliding door all the way.
Thank you. I was like, what did we talk about? And yeah, we'll catch everyone next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.